What is a profession that was once highly respected, but is now a complete joke? Bank teller used to be a foot in the door to the finance industry. Now it's basically 20-year-old credit card salesman. I remember when I was in college, I interviewed at a national bank branch for a part-time teller position. Maybe it's different at the smaller, local banks and/or credit unions, though I doubt it, but proved the stereotype of national banks being financial vampires right. Thought the interview would be dedicated to my abilities to break large numbers into smaller bits, e.g. turning a $100 into various bits, math skills, knowledge of policies, and/or ability to learn their software. Instead, while time was dedicated to how I would try to upsell customers, change their basic savings account to a money market account, convince them to use that bank to take out a loan, or apply for the bank's credit card and other products instead. Not just tellers, but bankers now too. I was a universal banker at a local bank. The universal just meant I was a teller and a banker. The idea was when a customer walked in, they would only ever need to talk to one person. And like you said, I was a 20-something kid who just tried to sell lines of credit. Teacher. The complete lack of respect by government, parents, and kids is astonishing. I worked at a grade school for years, and the parents were the worst. I'm a teacher, and this is it. I have kids who I know their behaviors and attitudes are 100% BC of their parents, and this is at 5 years old. A parent sent me a long angry email BC her son came home without his gloves, and it's like, it's not my job to keep track of your child's materials for him. If you as a parent either don't write their name on everything or don't teach them how to keep track of stuff, then it what to tell you. I'm here to teach your child the curriculum. I can't keep track of a million different pairs of the same black gloves. My 12-year-old wants a phone. My message to them has been, go 3 months without leaving your lunchbox at school and we'll talk about a phone. Until then, miss me with it. We got a phone for our 13-year-old. It's been sitting in its box unopened for months waiting for him to show enough responsibility to have it, with no light at the end of the tunnel. He complains constantly about not having it, but apparently he doesn't want it enough to actually deserve it. Yep. That's why my friend quit after 25 years, minimum for pension. I initially assumed it was due to the disrespect from students and higher-ups, but he said that he had minimal issues with the students and that he quit almost entirely due to their parents. Just the other day, a customer I was helping made a comment about kids these days, and I replied, well, who raised these kids? We did. Shut him up pretty quick. Journalism. Somewhere along the way, it stopped being about delivering the news in a timely manner, and started being about getting clicks and being the first to report something, even if it might not have been true. As someone who has worked directly in journalism, this resonates a lot. I used to write for a regional paper, and I used to take shit because my pretty decent articles would be given fucking absurd and childish headlines. People who knew me would see the headlines, they wouldn't read much beyond it. They'd assume the headline reflected my opinion and would fact-check me with things I said in the damn article. I remember once an editor added a headline that completely contradicted the thesis of the piece and made me look like a moron. One of the most frustrating points of my professional life. I actually started lying to people about what I did. I don't think it's necessarily the journalists at fault, sometimes it is. Rather, people don't see everything behind the scenes and don't understand the current incentive structure of these businesses. Where I used to work, we'd have X number of assignments that would need to be completed. We had one quota for self-ideated pieces and another quota for priority editor-ideated pieces, but we couldn't communicate to readers like, hey, this one is a me thing for something I thought was important. This thing is an editor thing that they thought would get clicks. Please don't judge me for their dumbfuck piece. I've never been more embarrassed by a job than I was journalism, and I've worked as a male babysitter before. Specifically because of editors and management. Don't even get me started on the stupid guidelines we got from management. I took a journalistic ethics course in my undergraduate media college program. That was before social media. It's utter bedlam now. Frankly, I trust Wikipedia more than most news sources. My old employer added insult to injury when they added a comment section to our articles. So now I could see all the hate and lol, did you even read your own headline, bro? Comments in real time. Completely ruined my passion for the job. Every decision the employer made felt more like how someone manages a social media account than a newspaper. I watched an interview this week where a female journalist was interviewing a politician. Whenever he digressed the question asked, she didn't just let it go, but instead asked again until he finally gave an answer. She had background information on any topic she brought up and had examples, studies, and citations ready. She even called out his childish behavior when he tried to paint himself the victim. I was so impressed with her work that I looked for more interviews she did. I still believe she is outstanding at her job. But maybe it just seems more impressive because everyone else is doing such a lousy job at interviews. We've gotten used to superficial questions, unsubstantial talk, and interviewees evading answering the one critical question that got asked. Astrologer. Royals used to consult with their astrologers to see what was written in the stars for them, and it was considered a genuine science. Now they just use Myers-Briggs and the like. Astrology for MBAs. As someone who is midway through my master's degree in psychology, let me just say, I hate the Myers-Briggs. It's basically just Jungian archetypes, updated and repackaged for the corporate world. It's fun to take the assessments, and it can generate some basic insights into our personality. However, I draw the line and tests like this being used for hiring, promoting, or anything serious. Ronald Reagan apparently used an astrologer to help him make decisions. That's certainly not an endorsement, though. Wasn't that Nancy's astrologer? Yes, remember. Ron was eating jelly beans and had Alzheimer's, and Nancy was running the country through her astrologist advice. It definitely wasn't George Bush Sr., the vice president and former director of the CIA, that was calling the shots. It was obfuscation at its finest. Retail. Believe it or not, it was once considered a respectable job. Adults would work full-time for years with the same company, be knowledgeable about what they sold, and make a wage that could support a family. Yeah, this one is a wage issue more than anything. The people who are knowledgeable can, typically, use their skills elsewhere, so now that it doesn't pay for shit, they go elsewhere, which leaves people who aren't knowledgeable and who, likely, won't be there in a few months, so they aren't likely to learn either. Which leads to people having less respect for them. I always tell people this when they bitch about the employees at Home Depot/Lowe's or whatever. Plenty of people who know what they're doing would be happy to work retail if it paid enough for them to survive, but it doesn't, so they can't. Bring back living wages and you'll suddenly get better people. A shocking concept. It is also a time issue. A lot of stores demand employees do what would have previously been multiple people's job, and there is little time to become more familiar with the products. Workers struggle to just get the base level work done and are promptly sent home once that is done before they can cost the company any more money. There isn't really time to do the next level work of familiarizing themselves more with the products unless they do it unpaid on their own time. Then the wage issue comes back in as well, making them not have enough time for that due to needing a second job to make ends meet, not having enough money to buy the products they stock, and are not being paid enough to care about investing their personal time to learn more about the products without additional compensation. Chiropractors are on a well-deserved downward slide. I hope this one expedites. The amount of posts in local mom groups that are along the lines of, "My newborn infant suddenly can't move their lower limbs. Any chiropractors that see same day? Excuse me, ma'am. You need the ER." The problem I have with chiro is how inconsistent the whole profession is. Some don't focus on the spinal cracking and use physiotherapy. Others seem to only crack, and some seem to do it dangerously. I've been to 2 chiropractors and never got my back cracked. They did physiotherapy type stretches on me and gave me exercises to strengthen my core. I only had to see them twice, and they suggested I wouldn't need to come back if I kept up my stretches. I haven't been back in 5 years. Maybe that is a Canadian chiro thing? I don't know. If a chiropractor ever suggested a crack or some crazy adjustment to me, like neck or spinal, I'd rejected the care, but I haven't had to. Court jester. They make jokes and are celebrated. I make one and I'm in contempt of court. Did you forget to add Your Honor? Your Honor's mother. Mail carrier. In the US at least. We had a good half-century where delivering the mail was highly paid, highly respected, and a great job for people that didn't like the typical office/job site routine. In 2024, the pay is subpar and moving towards outright poverty wages. The respect is still high but waning due to out-of-control junk mail and subpar carriers who don't get paid enough to care. The PO took all the new technology of the last 2 decades that could have made the job easier and more efficient and used it to micromanage carriers. Source: AM Mail Guy. Not just carriers. Any job with the postal service is overworked and underpaid. When I was growing up, we knew our mailman, and my mom would always leave him a Christmas card with some cash in it every year to say thank you. I wish it was still like that. That world isn't totally gone. I know many of my customers, and they give me gifts and cash at Christmas. I am literally on the job right now and just received a jar of homemade jam, haha. Real estate agents. I prefer the fake ones. There's a fair amount of overlap. My sister-in-law was a real estate agent for a while. Also a stripper. Many of her stripper co-workers were also real estate agents. That tracks. I have a theory that 95% of real estate agents are just former bartenders that got tired of the hours. Politician. My understanding is that people once respected them, maybe. One of the indicators of the fall of the Roman Empire was that no one wanted to serve in government because it was seen as corrupt and unfulfilling unless you were crooked. This is the downfall of all empires. Corruption. People didn't used to go to school to be politicians in the same way. They actually gained relevant world experience, and the respect of other people, gained popularity, and were voted to represent people for term. Now, people go to college with a trajectory planning to be senators. CEO. Business magnate. Believe it or not, the majority of us in the 90s thought the US was a meritocracy, and those people got there by being smart. Turns out it's just nepotism and connections with a smattering of generational wealth. Social media really helped people realize that one. I think it also lined up with that continuing to get worse. You used to have more CEOs that worked their way up in their industry and such. It's why some of the companies that were well respected for decades have gone to shit. They went from people who did the work to rich kids whose parent bought them an MBA. Taxi drivers used to be super knowledgeable about local geography and attractions. Now they know nothing and just do whatever the app says. Though to be fair, maybe they weren't ever respected for that knowledge. I've always respected London's black cab drivers for their achievement of the knowledge. Pretty incredible to memorize every street and route in such a large city. I remember when I was a kid, you were seen as an ungrateful asshole if you didn't respect the police no matter what and at all times. Now it seems that everyone has a certain disdain and distrust of the police no matter your background. Odd that, isn't it? It's almost as though having the Supreme Court tell us, repeatedly, that the police have no responsibility to protect us as individuals, that really what they do is protect property, that egregious crimes they commit while on duty have blanket immunity, and that presented with a mandate to stop murdering us unfairly, their immediate response was to attack us, and then quit en masse. And in the end, at least where I live, we ended up pretty much exactly where we started. Go figure. Truck driving. Truckers used to be called the Knights of the Road. Now they're a bunch of clowns. I'm a retired driver. It was a good profession when I started. Now they're a bunch of meatied-up clowns. Technical maintenance. Industrial maintenance. Used to be respected for your knowledge and contribution to production numbers. Now, with corporate greed, you are the red-headed stepchild and costing them money. You don't need all those parts. But woe to you if a machine goes down and you have no part because they reduced your inventory by March 4th. Edit. Word correction. Working for an airline used to be admirable job, classy. Now it's embarrassing as airlines treat people like cattle. Write in the comments what professions have been subjected to the same treatment. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel. See you soon.